Good afternoon. Welcome to Conversations with Affiliates. My name is Danilo Petranovic. I work here at the Abigail Adams Institute. This afternoon, I have a pleasure to welcome Finnian Brown, who is a longtime fellow of the Abigail Adams Institute, first an undergraduate fellow and now a graduate and professional fellow. Finn, you graduated a year and a half ago, class of 2019. Tell us a bit more about yourself. What did you concentrate in at Harvard? Where are you from? And what are some of your intellectual interests?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm originally from out west, Boise, Idaho. And I had sort of been drawn through various channels into sort of weird humanities things that people in college really all seem to be drawn to in weird ways. So you end up sort of doing a little bit of Dostoevsky, or you find out some of the weird German philosophy in high school. And this sort of got the juices going, and you realize, in college, you can say anything, but you can take it really to another level with the professors available. And so that sort of got me into philosophy properly. Mm-hmm. And then there was sort of techniques that, I was sort of a little bit excited about, but then there were ideas and people that were fascinating. So Nietzsche, Dostoevsky, but sort of the big books this time, and then all of the German, Kant right up to the very end. And I would say that was sort of the driving, cadence of coming here, moving through school. Mm-hmm. My concentration ended up being, I say always for political reasons, economics, right. Which is just, there's really a lot going on in some of these departments that have nothing to do with, the people you're reading and sort of what you can say and, whether you have to take sort of boring classes or not. Kind of said, okay, economics, you have to take that many classes. There were some real great ones. There were some really boring ones. But at least in the economics department, it's sort of soulless. So you can say anything. And as long as you sort of have something there, a regression or some stats, people aren't going to say, oh, you have somehow violated a sacred cow, or, you're not allowed to really say this. You have to do some historiography instead. But, that was my move through. And
so tell us, what was a few particular professors that influenced you or that you regard very highly, or
absolutely
memorable classes?
I don't want to leave any out, but so I have to say, Sean Kelly, who's now the master of Dunster House, was great, and he teaches the sort of intro to existentialism class. Brilliant lecturer, is always asking questions. His classes are way too popular, and it's sort of hard for him to keep his old style. But when I took it, it was 30 people. It was great. Another great one is Michael Rosen in the government department. But he basically does, he probably has other classes too, but the class I took was German idealism. And it was great. Small classes are always great, and they're hard to find because you can't, search like, what are the smallest classes? That just doesn't work. You have to kind of go investigate. There were 9 people in it. It was sort of very lofty lectures about these German idealists. Some of them, the big names, Kant and Hegel and Fichte, and then some you never have heard of, Harman. And, we spent a lot of time discussing, lecturing. Great class, great papers, and great TF too. Another great one is Peter Gordon is well known as sort of a very powerful lecturer, and he's also good. And I did his German class.
Was it Hamilton as well?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Hamilton. I was going to even be my first. So Hamilton is great. He's chair of German department. I ended up taking a graduate seminar on Heidegger that was in German.
You took this class?
I took this class, and I had.
You have German reading knowledge?
Yeah, so I did some German, and it wasn't on the level of. So all these people are from Germany, but you could find you were helped along, and make sure you sort of got as much as you could out of the German and check out the English too. But it was a great class, and it was one of the few that really rose to the level of true seminar. You have a professor, but the contributions from the other members were sort of on that level.
Seems like you got a lot out of college intellectually, Finn. Tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, what are you doing now? What does your workday look like? I know you're here in Boston, across the river.
Yes. So I'm doing a lot of things. My paid job is in finance in Boston. I would say on the side, you have a lot of projects. One of them is a podcast, which tries to sort of get at some of the things that were most exciting about the humanities, philosophy, the arc of history, the modern world, that kind of thing. And it's on Spotify, it's on iTunes, it's called At World's End. The episodes tend to be long, tend to be a little bit out there, but it is what it is, right? You don't need anybody to give you approval to make a podcast. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm working even on a little bit of a project. I'm not saying so much about it right now, but it's in the humanities, and our goal is to sort of bring, humanities up to where its sort of rivals are. If you think about social science or hard science, in terms of the tools they have available in the digital age. And the core conviction there is just, the humanities, the ideas are so strong, it's easy to ignore their manifestation. So you say like a book, okay, well now it's not so much a book, it's like a PDF or something. And for the longest time, the highest possible ideas were mirrored with a nice library and coffee and professors, and it all sort of came together. And now, it's maybe even the opposite. The highest ideas sort of have the least deserving presentation, and maybe something can be done about that.
Interesting.
So we're working on it. Yeah, we're working on it.
Okay. So Finn, one last question or a series of questions for you. So, and I'm not asking you to promote yourself or the things that you've done for us at the Abigail Adams Institute. Finn was one of our early photographers, I believe, his sophomore year, freshman year, maybe even.
Yeah.
And of course, you've done your senior thesis presentation here, but tell us, again, I'm not asking you to promote yourself, what were some of the events that you enjoyed most at the Abigail Adams Institute?
Well, Abigail Adams was sort of all of the boom and none of the bust of the humanities. So they have great seminars where it's sort of the exciting 3 weeks of a class taken out, and put in Abigail Adams, and then sort of take out all the people who don't do the readings and aren't super interested, and keep everyone that does. I think one early one that I thought was great was when we read the speech of Pusey, the president of Harvard, in 1960. I guess he was reading to the class, and he sort of had this nice reflection on the closing of a past age and the birth of a new age, which seemed very prescient. It's not something that you would commonly read, but it was a great thing. And I know from everyone in the room, because we all still talk about, wow, because it all came together, and that was brilliant. The thesis presentation was also great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. My thesis was sort of in the economics department, but it was basically just an investigation into this financial crash that happened in 1873, which no one really cares about. It was a long time ago. It was overshadowed by the Great Depression. But it turns out there were all these sort of interesting things going on that make up what we think of as like a modern economy. So, it was global, it started in Europe and it came to the US. On the gold standard, off the gold standard situations, there was, weak banks and strong banks, New York versus, country banks, paper money versus gold. All these sort of issues that we think about as, what's the economy really based on, what is value, is sort of all in the background, and a little bit even in the foreground with some of the writing. So that was a lot of fun. It turned out to be a fairly technical project too.
Yeah, I remember a lot of data.
Yeah,
on that one, but nicely presented and integrated. Well, Finn Brown, Philosophy and Economics, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Noah.